Tres Amigos, former football coaches turned insurance agents to talk about Texas Aggie football.
It's ready. I see you got old Morrow's touchdown drawn up behind you, huh?
Yeah.
It's a hard route to cover.
Marcel from the backfield.
If you're not in zone, that's hard.
Very hard. Yeah, it is. If you got the time to pull it off, you better get to the quarterback. And they almost did. Marcel had to step up, and anyway.
Yeah, he did a good.
I thought that was his best physically throwing the ball at game.
Yes.
Accuracy,
pocket.
Like
I will say this.
Mentally, it was not good. Yeah, mentally, it was not a good game for him in some spurts, but physically, accuracy, like everybody complains about the accuracy, like I thought he put the ball everywhere it needed to go. With the idea, I mean, yeah, the KC pick is a bad decision, but if that safety's not there, that's still a good ball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he threw the ball well.
Yeah,
that safety's not there. So anyway,
so I will say, and we'll get started. But I will say that without a doubt, I thought that the first quarter and a half was the best I'd seen Marcel play. Now he couldn't maintain it the whole game, unfortunately, but
no.
That first quarter and a half, he was on fire. All right, guys, so let's get started. Tres Amigos, this is episode 25-9. Thank y'all for tuning in and listening. Man, last week was awesome for us. We had over 1,400 views on YouTube alone. We added over 120 subscribers to the channel. We're right at 300 subscribers right now. So if you're listening to this, you enjoy what we do, we sure would appreciate if you'd like, share, subscribe, heck, send it to a bunch of buddies in a group text. And we just appreciate it. We enjoy doing it. So definitely want to thank everybody. And before we get into it, I love message boards and I love getting on there and chatting as much as anybody. But Seth, if you'll pull up, there's two plays out. Before we get into it, I'll let anybody talk. This is what Monday morning quarterbacking will do for you. So pull up the first one. So if y'all remember, this is the touchdown drive that we had Saturday, 3rd down and 1, late in the 4th. We throw a screen, and everybody's cheering. What a great call. We pick up the first down. What a great call by our OC. Unbelievable. Oh, wait a minute. Looks very familiar to this screen we tried to throw against Auburn, and almost the exact same situation in the 4th quarter, trying to go down and put the nail in the coffin just like we were against Florida, and it didn't work out as well, and our OC was a complete idiot, if I remember correctly, according to all the message boards. So I love I love being a Monday morning quarterback. I love getting on those message boards, but being an old coach, you're a genius when it works out, and when it doesn't work out, you're a blooming idiot. So just wanted to point that out this morning. So Mark, tell them about yourself there, boss.
My name is Mark Brown. I'm a insurance associate at Rollo here in Carthage, Texas, city of champions. Was not an Aggie, grew up an Aggie, ended up taking a little more money to go work for the North Texas football program, which, we lost all over the country. But spent 20 years in high school coaching and love talking Aggie football. Anyway. That's my story.
All right, and Seth, tell them about yourself. I love how you have the touchdown play drawn up there from our running back catching that flag out of the backfield.
The sale concept has been prevalent this year, and the beauty of when you focus on mastering a concept versus this is the downside to the West Coast offense is there's the like you don't just have a true concept that you master. Like, we can throw this to a tight end. We can throw it to a receiver. We hit Craver on it against Notre Dame for a big play, the sell route. We threw it to Morrow out of the backfield. So it's and that's our really hard route to cover. Mark is our defensive guy. Just so and we were talking about this right before, and he's like, it's a really hard route to cover. You better get to the quarterback, right, Mark? Is that how you're gonna have to cover that?
Absolutely. It's too hard.
Yeah. So, and they almost did. Marcel did a good job stepping up. Marcel stepped up. He climbed the pocket to deliver that ball, and that was a cap.
Seth, we used to run to kind of cover stuff like this. We had a coverage called trio, which were those three guys are patter reading those routes. But the thing about what they're doing at A&M is they're doing it out of formations that we would not call trio in. It we call trio and wide bunch and things like that.
Yeah.
And they're pulling a back out, or it's a slot tight end, and you really don't want to run trio to that because of all the other things.
Yeah. So that's what's cool about concepts, though, is when you can mold them to fit different personnel packages, different position groups running the same route combos, and then your quarterback has the same read. Whether it's Craver, Morrow, he has the same read, and you master those concepts, vary up personnels and formations, and your quarterback just sees the same thing over and over again, even though the defense, like we've talked about, sees multiple things coming at them. So it's really cool to see that. Yeah, I want to say this before we get going. Thank y'all for all the subscribing and all the sharing. Like we said, send it in your message groups. We'll at least spur some discussion, because we don't typically sound like your typical message board discussion, I don't think.
Hopefully not.
Or your typical podcast discussion. So I will say this, though, two things before I forget. I'm probably going to go to the LSU game, so please tell me in the comments what to do to not get stabbed, because it is a night game. And secondly, I want to say this big time with Elko, and I mentioned it last time. Culture matters a lot. It really does, and that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing year 2 of a culture. You're seeing a locker room that's been flipped. And I'm not going to get into the individuals. I'm going to talk about the forest for a minute here. Like the roster last year, I did a roster breakdown. I did it again this year, and I was going to make a graphic, but I'll just tell you, okay? Last year, the 2024 transfer class made up most of our snaps played. The biggest portion of the pie chart, right? But still, like the previous administration's players were still over half of the snaps played, even though the 2024 transfer was. Well, now that has flipped to about 2/3 of the roster of the snaps played now are guys that came in with Elko, whether it's a high school kid or a transfer from 24 or 25. And I think you're seeing, like, I don't think they just target anybody in the transfer portal or at the high school ranks. I think they embed everything, and he makes decisions that will. And that's what I tell some people I talk to on a regular basis. Like, when you make decisions that are based on more than just the now, when you make decisions that are based on the culture, there will be short sample sizes of frustration. You know what I mean? Like, there will be. Like, it's not all about the it's not like, man, I'd really like to drive, what do you call those F-350s? The King Ranch. I'd like to have one of those. That'd be great. And I could probably go and get one if I wanted to right now, right? But culturally, and in my little household, that doesn't make any sense. And so, like, where my short-term game would be really cool, the long-term game would really suck. And that is where Elko, he balances those decisions, and I'm so happy to see that. Because that tells me that a guy's invested in the future, and not just, like I've mentioned last year, squeezing the blood out of the turnip now, and then we'll figure it out later.
Well,
like so many other people do.
And going on to that, and I don't want to stay on this topic long, but I sent that in a group text with y'all too. Listening to his press conference yesterday, one of the things that I was so excited about, because as a former coach, and I think everybody that really has ever coached is always thinking about next year. Even though you want to take care of this year, you're always thinking, man, this kid's going to graduate, this kid this kid that. And so we know on that offensive line, at most, we're going to have 2 back, at most. And so to hear Elko rave about the scout team offensive line, which is your sophomores and freshmen offensive linemen, to hear him rave about them and brag about them and how they've really come on, really gives me some hope for not only this year but the future as well. So, all right,
dude, they're blocking it. They're blocking a really good SEC unit every week, multiple days a week.
Yes, they are.
And if you do it seriously, like if you get those kids to buy in and do it for real and not just give a look, if they're really honing their craft. Yeah, I mean, they'll be ready to go next year. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I want to say that one quote Elko said about winning, and he said, "That's rented. You've got to pay rent every week and prove that you can do it again." And if he can really get that mentality through the locker room, which it looks like he is, that's a huge way of thinking about things. I love it. So, all right.
No doubt. All right, guys. So we're gonna move on to the good, bad, and ugly of the offense against Florida. My first good, and I have raved about this for 2 years, so I've got to put it at the top of my list. We had 3 penalties all game long for a total of 30 yards. If we do that for the next 6 games, we got a chance to be in Atlanta and put ourselves in a real good spot postseason. Unbelievable job. We've been averaging over 100 yards of penalty yards a game through the first 5 games. So to have 3 for 30 yards in that game was huge, huge, huge. Only one of them was a pre-snap penalty, and that was a delay of game on a 4th down where we were trying to get them to jump off sides, and we just took the delay and punted it. Not upset about that at all. Much, much better on that part. The run game as a whole was good. I know losing Moss is going to hurt forever long. You know, if it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever that is, that's definitely going to hurt. That guy is a beast. We'll show a clip here in a minute of how good that guy is. But even with him out, we still had 183 yards, dang near 200 yards on the ground, and they were giving up less than 100 yards on the ground a game coming into the game. So we got dang near 200 yards against a D line that was giving up less than 100. So O-line did an excellent job. No sacks, no tackles for loss, so no negative plays. When you got a game where you've got no negative plays on offense and less than 30 yards of penalties as a team, that's a good sign for your team having success. So that was my good. Seth, what do you got, boss?
Yeah, too bad for the coaches Cabo Fund, right? Gonna have to downgrade.
They make enough. They can pay for their own.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, just my good is kind of this holistic of overcoming adversity, which kind of goes back to the paying the rent and the culture. You know, you had multiple times there for a shoe to drop situation. Us Aggies are used to seeing the Moss injury, right? Like that was a good opportunity for the team to just go into a shell and we did a little bit, but we were able to overcome it. And then the red zone interception. I mean, if you look back at that 4th quarter, winning like Tommy Moffitt, you know, like that strength and conditioning coach deserves some flowers because we are winning in the 4th quarter. We're putting our will on people in the 4th quarter. The 4th quarter had a great opportunity for us to go, oh boy, you know, we have the 4th quarter was an 8-play, 3-minute and 54-second drive that ended in the interception that Marcel threw. Should have been a field goal. Should have been 3 points if we make it. The next series after that interception, right, is a good time for the defense to be, here we go again, right? Now 5 plays, 30 yards, force the ball back to the offense's hands. And then 13 played, 50-yard, 8-minute drive with 1 pass thrown, a quick screen to convert it. Concepcion converts 2 third downs with his 1 on the screen, 1 on the jet. Morrow converted a 3rd one on a hard, tough run. That was good to see him give it that opportunity in a big down. The offensive line, I mean, this front's really good. Upon further review, this front is up there with Auburn's, like I think, as far as watching them live. I mean, that they are some loads to block up front. And their linebackers show up quick.
Yeah, here's what I'll say on that is going into the game, I thought Auburn's was better because they hyped up the 15 kid, the Falk. And he may be NFL, whatever, but he doesn't play hard. These guys do play hard, and I'll give that D-line credit. They played hard all the way through the game. I know that's got to be difficult down there when you're playing your tail off and playing hard, and your offense can't do anything to help you, and you got a coach that you know could be gone at any day. So credit to those kids for staying in there and fighting.
I'll say this about their front 7 is when I watched them, yeah, the Auburn had like the one special kid and they were solid. I thought overall, there's not a guy in their front 7 that if they hit the transfer portal and come to A&M, I'd be super excited about them just because of how hard they play, how well they play, how they stay within the scheme of things. To block those guys, that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, here's the funny thing. You say that. Cersei from Florida, Scooby from Florida, linebacker coach from Florida. So, yeah, we have kind of cherry-picked them a little bit.
True. That's true. We pulled some pretty good players off that team. Yeah, I mean, so, like, for example, the yards before contact is a metric. I mean, stats are stats. You can go and pull a stat for anything you want and make your own gut feel. But my gut feeling in that game is they defended the run better than anybody else had against us so far. We still imposed our will and ran the ball pretty successfully. And one of the things I like to go check to see if my gut feeling, if the stats match up, is what's called yards before contact. Yards before contact is a metric that, you know, basically when is your running back getting the first defensive touch happening? And for example, against Mississippi State, our yards before contact was the highest of the season at 3.4. That means us 3 could have probably ran for some good yards in that game, at least. Well, against Florida, it was 1.1, lowest of the season. And Florida is, I mean, that was our lowest of the season by quite a margin too. So they did defend the run well. There was lots of times where they got us into situations where We actually, I think, we're tagging the zone blocking to be like a more of a duo, and just let's just let our running back have a chance versus linebacker, make sure these D linemen aren't. And I mean, their linebackers showed up and was initiating contact close to the line of scrimmage. So it was a dirty run guy. But that's the thing. Like, just because that 1.1 yards before carry doesn't mean we still didn't run the ball successfully. We still imposed our will on a team that was sold out to stop the run. I mean, in the fourth quarter, that's what they're doing on that one drive. You know, and that was really good. And I want to highlight the tight ends. I know the offensive line gets a lot of flowers. I had a few plays just to show, what our tight ends do for us in the run game. It's, the very first touchdown, if you watch Boykircher here, he's right here where my little dot is, and he's the cram block is what we used to call it. And, I mean, that is a solid block.
Absolutely.
Very good. The 3rd and 1 play where Morrow converts for us on the big 8-minute drive, we got Thor and Boykircher here with huge blocks to give him that little bit of space he needed to convert that 1-yard play. These guys are really impressive how they block, especially compared to last year. Last year, I don't know if our tight ends were a net positive in the run game. They were probably about average when it comes to that. But right now, we are seeing net positives. Here we see, look at, Boykircher and Micah Riley work this guy 7 yards down the field. Micah, I'll be honest with you. The last thing I want to do is be this defensive end that Riley's coming across the slice block. That guy brings the hammer on the slice blocks.
Yes.
And Riley's not a guy. He hasn't caught a pass this year that I'm aware of that I can remember.
He has not.
But he is a big part of our offensive success. He plays about 15 to 20 downs a week, and man, really good stuff.
Here's what's exciting. You're absolutely right. Our tight ends are doing an unbelievable job blocking, but this was their best game receiving as well. So tight ends this game had 3, 6, 8 catches for about 80 yards. So if you can get 100 yards of receiving out of those tight ends a game, plus what they're doing in the run game, that's a dangerous dynamic to an offense. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. And I'll wrap this up, but Marcel's physical throwing of the football, his accuracy was probably the best game of the year. I know we're going to talk a little bit more about him later in the bad too, mentally. But when it came time for him to deliver the ball, regardless of the decision he had made, where the ball got thrown was all pretty good, in my opinion. Where there had been some where you're like sailing it, and things like that, some physical problems. But I thought, and especially in the quick screen game, I thought it was easily the best quick screen game he had thrown. He even had a sidearm. We see the quarterbacks do that all the time to get it around the defender. Hit KC right early in the game. Very, very happy with the physical progression of Marcel's throwing capability. And then last but not least, my favorite thing of the whole game outside of the win, as an old wing tee guy, was this.
I saw it.
The straight tee on 3rd and 1.
Man. Hey, that's how you honor the 75 team right there. That's how you honor the 75 team. 3rd and 1, you're going to line up in that and pick it up. That's awesome.
Yeah, and E.J. Smith. Yeah, E.J. Smith getting those carries at the end was he was the one that carried the ball there, I'm pretty sure, in the straight tee. Everybody's hand in the ground except for the quarterback. I mean, there we go. So,
all right. Well, I'm going to go to the bad, and me and Coach Brown have had our differences about Mr. Owens. But I'm going to be honest with you. He reminds me a lot right now of where Moss was at the beginning of last season. Just impatient and allowing his blocks to fit up before he shows off his acceleration. And so, and if you go back and watch podcast last year, I said the same thing about Moss early on. And you're a young running back, you're getting out there, you want to hit the hole and you want to have the big shot. And to learn to allow your blocks to set up can be a difficult thing. So, we're going to pull up the first one here. The first one, you got Adams pulling, your right guard pulling around, and I'll let it play through once here, okay? And he is like running into him. He's running into his puller. Now, you want to be tight on the puller, but you don't want to be so tight that you're cutting off your vision. So if you'll go to the still frame, so you see here, the lane's going to open up here to his right. You can see where he is, but he can't see that because he's so impatient. He's run up on his puller, and he doesn't allow himself to see that hole. Now, that's not a huge hole, but we'll show a play later for Moss who runs through a hole about that size for 22 yards and a touchdown. So the next one, you can see again, we're pulling Zune this time, your left tackle, and he's out in front of his pull. he's racing his puller to the hole. Now, the reason we're pulling that guy is to help you, allow him to get in front of you so you can do it. So if you go to the next still frame here, you can see he is to the right of Zoom. He needs to be where that X is. If you'll go to the next clip, let it proceed a little bit further, boom. If he's behind his puller, look at that hole he's got. Okay. Yes, sir.
Let's go back.
Yes.
Old school, where we're used to everything was under center, and we would run some kind of counter like this. You remember we used to teach those running backs to take a counter step where they step away from where they're going. So they would time it up.
Yep.
The shotgun and the zone read stuff, it requires the back to counter step in his mind by pausing to let that pull.
Just slow his feet
and it's
down
a lot
for a
harder
second.
on those backs than, oh, look, at the snap, you're going to take a step to the left and you're going to come back and get the ball to the right. That's a lot. I got the ball. I want to go. And he has a lot of that.
That's right. He does. And he's very talented. And I think the more reps he gets, we're going to look up in 2 or 3 games, we're going to be raving about how patient he is. He's just, you got to understand, he did, he played his freshman year a little bit, not a ton. Last year was going to be his year that he could really learn and grow and become what and he got injured and lost out on it. And this year, he's gotten carries, but he's been splitting carries with Daniels and with Moss, and so he hasn't been the guy. But I think you give him these next couple games, I think he's really going to grow. But this is where I see the impatience. And then if you'll go to the next one, I think I've got one to kind of show what it should look like. So stop it right there for me. So this is split zone, okay? So we're just running inside zone. Theo's coming across to kick out that end, okay? And if you look at Moss gets the ball, and he just kind of shuffles in place to allow Theo to clear, kick that guy out, and then once he sees the hole now, see how he's not tight to Theo? He's not tight to anybody. He's allowing everybody to fill their guy. Once he sees that hole, that's when his acceleration and his power come into play, and he runs it right through there for a touchdown. So you can watch it go through again. So Theo kicks him out. He's
what a
shuffling.
block by Theo, bro.
Unbelievable.
What a block by Theo.
And the guard and center up combo up to that linebacker. I mean, that's film you show at a clinic and just sit back and go, yeah, I taught that. But that's, I mean, that's
seeing Bolkercher go combo up with Brownover. Amazing, man.
Yeah. So, but you can see just the patience and allowing his blocks and just not being in a hurry until he sees it. It's slow, boom, and that's hard when you, and here's the other thing, these running backs have always been the best athlete. And so when they were in high school,
you get by with it.
You could get by with it because you may have blocked it up a certain way. And as a high school coach, I remember many times on the headsets going, what is that guy doing? And all of a sudden he's scoring, and it's not how you drew it up, but he was just a better athlete than everybody else. Well, now they've got to learn how to play because everybody on that field's a great athlete. So, but yeah, this is, I mean, that's prettiest blocking you as an O-line coach. That you can't get any better than that.
Good stuff.
So that's my bad. I think it's bad. It's not ugly because I really do think you give Owens a couple weeks where he's the guy and he does that, it's going to be a beautiful thing. So what you got here?
I'll segue off that. Yeah, I'll segue off that because I had the same stuff. And I had one more clip. We run a ton of counter. Counter is a scheme where, and we talked about it last week, where Basantis pulled wrong, right? Where you're going to pull 2 backside guys. Your first guy's going to be the blue line is a kick out block, and the backside puller is going to be a lead or a cram or a wrap or a seal. There's a million different things people call that block. But in this situation, we're doing it with the guard and the tackle, a GT counter. We don't run GT counter very much. We usually run GH and let Thor or the tight end offline be this cram puller. But on this one, you'll see, just to show you what it looks like there, you really need to follow the cram block. That's the main coaching point. And what you'll see is Owens gets he sees green grass and just runs to it. You know what I mean? Like the instinct takes over. If I see green grass, well, if you see green grass in a gap scheme, it's usually going to get filled pretty quick. And that's exactly what happens.
If he stays on father, he's hit,
oh my
man,
goodness.
he's out the gate. He's out the gate.
Look, I've coached a lot of gap scheme running backs in my day, and you show this film to them over and over again and go, hey, do you want to go square up a linebacker, or do you want to follow this big old butt right here and have a corner try to tackle you? Because that's all that was out there. The safety's being blocked by the receiver. We've got a great seal block on the linebacker. There's a corner. out there. And so he is going to see this stuff. And here's what's great is just like you've made progress in anything in your life, people that play golf, right? You're trying to get rid of your slice, eventually you start making yourself hit a hook. What we're seeing with Owens is that, like at the beginning of the year, he was too slow to the line, too much figuring it out. And they have hammered him about that. And now it's the other end of the spectrum where it's like, he's like, I'm not getting dropped out anymore about being too slow or being indecisive. I'm going to decide and go. So now it's okay. That's good. We've got you there, and now it's time to dial it back out and use your have the IQ. We saw Moss go through the same stuff last year.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? We saw it. I mean, like you said, and that's where I feel like I don't know where one of those things that might help him. And I think I said this about Moss too last year was that I think he looks to me like a guy that would be better out of the pistol. I know that does limit you a little bit offensively, and the pistol, for those that don't understand, that is where the quarterback lines up behind. I mean, the running back lines up behind the quarterback about 3 yards deep, kind of basically makes him an old I back. It's like the way to run an I or a one back set from not under center. And that makes the running back, he has further to go to get the ball, lets everything develop a little. And he did run out of the pistol against Mississippi State and looked really good at it when he did. So anyway, that's my contribution. If I was a coach, I'd be figuring out a way to maybe get him a little more pistol reps. Now it is a little scarier because sometimes backs go the wrong way. And in the gun, it's hard to go the wrong way. But in the pistol, it's easy to go the wrong way, like we saw on the first play of the game with play action going the wrong way when we hit Craver. That does happen sometimes. And, so I'll segue to you, Matt. My other bad was just Marcel's decision-making. I felt like there was a little bit of regression there. So I'll let you take over.
Yeah, so that was my only ugly was the one INT. And look, you're going to throw INTs if you're a quarterback. It happens. Sometimes you take a risk and give your guy a chance, and it doesn't work out. The Notre Dame game comes to mind where he threw the fade to ABR, and But this particular one is a little frustrating to me because if you'll go to the pre-snap picture, a still shot I got. So as I walk up as a quarterback, I know right now I got a too high safety look. Okay, so I know what routes we're running. Obviously, as a fan, you don't, but I know if we're running a corner, if we're running a post, if we're running a dig, whatever we're running up top. But I know I got a too high safety look. Now, they will, college teams will, as the ball snapped, sometimes roll one down and roll him to the middle. So it doesn't mean 100% all of a sudden I'm giving up on that side of the field. I just know that's why I'm seeing pre-snap. Go to the next one. What's frustrating to me is once the ball's snapped, okay, his eyes are there. You can see where his head's turning. His eyes are looking over here. He can see that safety still there. They didn't roll him to the middle. They didn't bring him down. He's still sitting there. At that point as a quarterback, if I'm running any kind of deep concept to that side of the field, unless somebody falls down, that's probably off. I'm just checking it off my list. I'm not looking there again. Instead, he continues to look there. And what's frustrating, go ahead, he is letting go of the ball right now. Okay? So he's throwing it up here. You've got bracket coverage, essentially. You got safety over the top, still got a corner on his hip. And look at Bussy breaking open on the dig across there. Had he just checked it off and had...
So the old rule is too high safeties. The offensive guy, I used to remember hearing our offensive coordinator at Marshall, that we used to call that mofo. Middle of the field will be open. It's a too high shell. As soon as he sees the safety, it is mofo, middle of the field. So now I'm immediately thinking when that safety bails, I'm thinking middle of the field open immediately. And so that should stop busing.
And I guarantee you, and I guarantee you ROC's told him the same thing, maybe not the same terminology, but the same concept. And so that's just my disappointment is pre-snap, you saw the too high safety look. Once you got the ball, you saw the safety was still there. You should have not looked back to that area, period. You should have been working back to, like Mark said, the middle of the field. And obviously the play design is drawn up perfectly because if you have that too high safety look on this play, they give you an option for the middle of the field. So that was my disappointment there. I think sometimes, and we've talked about it before, I think sometimes, you read the headlines too much. And I think sometimes maybe Reed has heard that, people say I can't throw the deep ball or people say I'm not accurate. So by golly, I'm going to prove them wrong. And you force things instead of taking what they gave you. So, Reed, my recommendation to you, brother, is don't listen to the headlines. Work within the system. You're going to get plenty of numbers. You're going to get plenty of awards. people are going to find something else to gripe about. That's just what they do. Don't let it get in your head. So that was my ugly. Seth, what you got, boss?
Before I moved to my ugly, I just wanted to point out that this was, his reach. He was initially trying to throw to Craver, but Craver, he ran a terrible route here. Let's just be honest. Like, he ran a Z out where you stem some type of inward breaking or crossing route, then swirl back out. And he drifted this thing like this and kept himself like, that's no throwing lane. If he runs this thing
Flat.
straight down the line, he can throw it out here to this grass and we got a chance at a first down. And so it was, exacerbated by the fact that the route was very poor for his secondary, like whatever he was progressing on that side, this or that. When he came to that decision, he went back to this because the route was so bad. And I wish he would have went on to the last route, the third progression into it, like the dig, like you said, for the first down would have been easy. So, yeah, my bad is I consider it kind of an extension of the offense is, our field goal kicking has got me concerned, just to be quite honest. I'm not even going to go into names or anything like that because we all know who they are. But this is gonna get us. It hasn't got us yet, but it's going to if it doesn't get cleaned up. That's the beauty of winning is that you have these things happen and you go, boy, if we can just fix that it didn't get us this time. But we've got us. I mean, like, because the dynamic of the field goals we missed against Mississippi State and against Auburn would have made it a 2-score game. And at one point, and then the field goal we missed here also changes. When you go from 7 to 10, that's a very different dynamic in the football game. Very, very different. And so we're 4 of 9 from 40 or more yards. And we're not. I mean, I'm not saying you have to make 9 of 9 from 40 plus. But we need to be better than 50%. And as
7
a whole,
of 9 would be
we
nice.
are 6.
Yeah.
That's right. We are 65% in the. I just look at things in the SEC. That way, you're not looking at 65 teams. In the SEC, we're 15th out of 16th in field goal percentage. South Carolina's edging us for the 16th place by about a percentage point. So that is something that is concerning, and I hope we have escaped without it biting us yet. And I hope we can this next 6 games all that improves because it will if we don't watch out.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Brown, share the good, bad, and ugly on defense. And surprise, surprise, I actually have something I want to brag on the defense there for a second. But I'll let Coach Brown tell his good first. Tell us what was good.
We're getting sacks and pressures like crazy, and I think a lot of that is we are putting teams into 2nd and long and 3rd and long. So winning on 1st and 2nd down is really starting to pay off, and you have to be really sound defensively to win on 1st and 2nd down. Now, early in the game, and I'll talk about this later, but we'll talk about the 1st or the 2nd and 3rd drive that they got us on. But our D-line play has been phenomenal, like high level phenomenal. Like, it's crazy how good they are. I look at Florida, I look at Auburn, I looked at even Oklahoma, who has a good front 7. Those teams have great front 7s, and then you turn on the tape with our guys, and they may not be as NFL caliber in some places, but man, are they right. They are eating double teams and stalemating them. They are squaring off pullers and boxing them or slipping them. They're doing all kinds of great things. So our D-line play and linebacker play has just been absolutely phenomenal. So the good of the defense is that we put people in 2nd and 3rd and long. And that makes us hugely successful on 3rd down because now we got guys that can just kind of pin their ears back. We can blitz Sanford. We can blitz York. Cassius can just jet it up. He can stand in a 2-point stance and make a guy that's supposed to be an NFL offensive lineman look like he can't block at all. And he had him so figured out that he passed that information on to Hayes when he moved to the other side, and Hayes wore him out. And so I saw it on film that I felt the guy was a little weak in his kick. But everybody was saying he was an NFL guy, at left tackle, and your left tackle is supposed to be your best guy. And our D-line play has eaten people's lunches. And so that's my good.
Yeah. Well, okay, well, a couple things. One, yeah, you're right. They were talking about, but I think that film's going to haunt him come the old draft weekend there. But
Absolutely.
Couple things. One, it's the first game I got to go to in person this year, and I want to brag on Brooks and Ratcliffe in their run support. I saw both of those guys multiple times. Once they identified run, man, they were flying downhill, setting that edge, and did a great job there. But the one that really caught my attention, guys, and Seth, you were at the game. I don't know what you could see. We had great seats. And Marco Jones, the freshman DN, number 10, that dude looks like he was created in a lab. The closest comparison I can tell you, and seeing him in person, there's something about seeing these athletes in person
Absolutely.
compared to on
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
You get a realistic idea of their size. And I know this is reaching, but I'm telling you, the closest comparison I can say for an A&M player that looks like Marco Jones as a freshman is Myles Garrett. And I mean, when he came out on the field, I mean, he's 18 and he's the biggest D lineman when he's out there. Like his length, his body, I mean,
Yeah.
he's a freak. That kid, and I know he only got 10 snaps, and I get it because, I mean, Hayes, Howell, Regis, Hicks, I mean, you can go down the line, all the guys doing great. So I get why they're not playing him as much. And it's nice to finally have a program with depth where you don't have to shove a freshman out there and pray that he's ready to contribute. But dude, when it's his time, that dude's gonna be a first-round draft pick if he stays healthy. I just kept tapping my buddy and going, "That dude's 18. That dude's 18." It was crazy.
He might have an early
that-
birthday.
Maybe, but I don't know. That good grief. So, Mark, what was your bad out of that defense?
Well, before I go to the bad, I'll say this. You talk about the draft stock of the left tackle there for Florida. What I said at the end of the game, look, if you've got film of a defensive end wearing number 50 wearing you out, your draft stock is tanking. I don't know why Hayes wears 50, but it's an odd number
Yes.
for an edge rusher. And so
It is an odd number.
does
You're right.
not
It
look
is.
like
It
the
is.
guy.
Yeah.
Like Cassius is wearing 9 and he's long and he scares you pre-snap. Hayes does not scare you pre-snap, but man, did he do a phenomenal job. And yeah, poor guy.
He did.
My
He
bad.
did.
Obviously, you have to say the giving up of the 2 touchdowns, but I will say this: as I watched it, I was not worried about our defense, because a lot of the early stuff, if you and A&M used it to their advantage this time too, is offensive coordinators are script guys, right? They have a script they're going to run early. The other thing is this: when you're throwing the fade or the go route or whatever, you have timed that up in a ton in pregame. So it's easy for the quarterback to kind of be in the rhythm to make that throw. 1, 2, bang, let it go. And he's got the timing set up. And we were on those guys. They're just great receivers, and Lagway threw perfect balls. But as the game goes on,
perfect. They were
as the game goes
Yeah.
on and Lagway has to start making reads, and now he's having to check from one play to the other. He doesn't have the play. He doesn't know that it's coming. And now he's having to read a defensive coverage. Now it causes his timing to be a little bit more off. And you saw that later. He would throw the same routes and he would miss the throw. He's gotten some pressure. He's been hit. Those things change it. So that's why I didn't worry so much about those drives. I worry a lot more about drives where they just line up and they gash us 6, 7, 8, and they go on these 12-play drives. That worries me a little bit. Like, why are we giving that up? But those were bad. You got to figure out a way early to do that. Sometimes the defensive coordinator, it takes him time to figure out, like, well, what are they doing and why are they doing it? And we didn't see a lot of that in the game before A&M. They didn't run a lot of this stuff. And so we're comfortable with our corners going man up. And I loved Elko's interview right before the half. You guys were at the game, but I was watching it. And so he was like, you gave up 2 being in man, but, you changed that to zone. He goes, no, we didn't. No, we didn't. And we didn't. We didn't change our defense. And Elko's good at that. Elko's not going to, we gave up a play, but there's a reason we gave it up. And I think Elko was like, look, they hit us. Good quarterback throw, great receiver, great coverage. They made a play. That's going to happen. And he didn't panic and say, oh my God, we're going to have to bracket these guys the rest of the night, because when you start bracketing people, you lose that Ratcliffe, those safeties coming down and run support. That's what makes Elko's defense great, is the fact that he's got two guys, Ricks and Lee, that he can say, hey, sick 'em, boys. We're finna play inside in the middle of the field, and we're finna wear these boys out. And so that is my bad, giving up those drives, but it's not that bad of a bad. I hate that we gave up 14 to Florida because we gave it up to them early. And I thought we would give up 14, but I think it would be through a course of a game. So we got to figure that out. But again, I think that's just about getting pressure on the quarterback early, and those we got to be better against the script, so to speak. We need to do some self scouting and say, hey, how our team's going to attack us, and be ready for that. My ugly, it's hard to find ugly in this defense. They're number one in third down percentage in the SEC. They're pretty much the best defense in the SEC, and maybe one of the top 3 defenses in all of football. And who thought that coming out of Utah State and UTSA? Nobody. But I think Elko kind of played that to his favor. He's like, hey, I'm going to get some guys ready for some stuff, and we got hurt. But my ugly would be, I don't know if you saw it, but after the game, Cassius Howell did a little celebration. Yeah, I don't like that. Look, I get it. You know, you gotta let these kids be who they are, but at some point you might say, hey, tone that kind of crap down a little bit. You know, let's be Aggies. Let's let the play on the field, you know.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, and I think with Hal, I think it's an easy conversation to have because the kid's got a chance to be drafted and drafted pretty high.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, man, for your own sake, now everybody's got a phone and everything's filmed. You know, back in the 70s, whatever, you could say, oh, I didn't do that, or, you know, I mean, look at old Kirby Smart. I was clapping my hands.
What a play!
Yeah. Sorry, Kirby.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kirby. It's on film.
A new way to clap.
Yeah. It's on film, and you could literally read his lips yelling timeout. So, yeah. Good luck with that. So anyway, all right, moving on to Arkansas. So before I get into defense, I just want to tell you, everybody's like, man, Arkansas's terrible. They just fired their coach. I'm telling you, the first half, I think this game's going to be close. And the reason I think it's going to be close,
they're a dangerous team.
They're a dangerous team. They got nothing to lose. They're going to take all the risk in the world. If it causes turnovers, so be it. That's the only way they can win is pushing the envelope there. And I've said this before, and I went back and looked on their roster. There's 24 Texas kids on that roster.
It's Arkansas.
Every one of those kids would rather be playing in Texas. Every one of them. And so every one of them is upset that A&M didn't offer them a scholarship. And so they're going to play with a chip on their shoulder, and they're going to want to prove, dadgummit, you shouldn't have let me leave the state. And so there's a different level of intensity for Arkansas in this game than there necessarily is for A&M. So I'm hoping that that Elko's, and I'm sure he is, he's done a great job of that all, since he's been here. But 24 kids, you gotta be, aware of that. They're going to run a 4-2-5 or base out of it. Statistically, they're the worst defense in the SEC, but I really don't think that's what we're going to see necessarily, because they're going to send blitzes. They're going to do all kind of exotic stuff because they can't stop anybody. They're giving up over 430 yards a game. They're averaging giving up 185 on the ground. If Owens does what I think he could do, he could really have a breakout game. And 185 on the ground and 250 through the air. So everybody's having a good day against him offensively. Petrino did, first thing he did when he got moved into interim or whatever was he did fire the entire defensive staff. I'm not sure if that's smart or not in the middle of the season, but it didn't look like they helped the defense much against Tennessee. Tennessee went for 264 on the ground and 221 through the air. So it was a close game, but the defense couldn't stop Tennessee. So on their D-line, their best D-lineman's 97, Quincy Rhodes Jr. He's from Arkansas, so he probably has some pride about playing for his home state. Big kid, 6'6", 275. He's got 5 sacks on the season and leads the D-line with 24 tackles. Their best linebacker, Xavier Sorey, is originally from Bama. He transferred from Bama before last year. He was third team All SEC last year. Against us last year, he had 7 tackles and 1 tackle for a loss. This year, he's the second leading tackler on the team, and he had 8 tackles against Tennessee last week. And then in the secondary, that secondary is a mess, but their best secondary guy is a corner that transferred from Fresno State. He's got 2 INTs and 5 pass breakups, but the defense as a whole is not good. I would say their front seven's better than their back end, but their back end's terrible. If 22, their nickel, was our nickel, we would all be crying right now. So, but Seth, what did you see, boss?
Speaking of nickels, Tyreek Chappelle, man, that guy played so good against Florida.
Yeah.
I forgot. That was my one thing I was going to add on defense is you got 3 corners that are playing phenomenally.
Hey, and that Shaw kid, when they put him out there, didn't look bad either.
You know, and that like Coach Brown has talked about, that just unlocks Elko's defense. Like, that's the cheat code. I think that really is like if we have corners that can man up and be on an island, it's going to be. Elko gets to do what he loves, and JP, Coach Peterson, just keeps locking them down. Got another 27 5-star corner. Got Arrington coming in next year. That dude's doing a phenomenal job as a corner coach. Phenomenal job. But I kind of dug in because I was like wanting to see like what changed about the defensive coaching once Petrino did what he did, and that's one other thing that makes this dangerous. Petrino wants that job. This is not some dead man walking interim head coach. This is a head coach who's auditioning for the job.
Intern,
because the coaching carousel just got wild. In Arkansas, Arkansas is going to be in a tight spot. So go ahead.
Interns in Arkansas are awesome. I think that's what he wants that job. It's good interns at Arkansas.
Yeah, it's got some scenic motorcycle.
Good areas right there.
Yeah. So, but yeah, since the defense, so I went back and kind of did some let's look at these first 5 games, and then let's look at the one. It's only a 1-game sample size, right? We've only got 1 game to go on with a defensive overhaul. Like, what changed? And what I noticed was they were actually very aggressive in the first 5 games. A very, very high blitz percentage of sending 5, 6 or more. That has been dialed back about 20 to 25% in the 1 game we've watched them play against Tennessee. And they went from way more cover 3 in zone. But they did. They were a cover 3 single high base team mostly, but they went more they ran more zone against Tennessee than they did man, like they had the previous. So it looks to me like Petrino just told the defensive staff, try to just keep them in front a little bit more. So this is going to be a little bit more like the Mississippi State defense mentality wise when it comes to that play. They gave up. Now that's probably the right decision on Petrino's part because they gave up 14 explosives versus Notre Dame before Coach Pittman got fired.
I watched that.
I've never seen that many in one game. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Against Tennessee, they gave up 7. So, I don't think Tennessee's offense is as good as Notre Dame's. Notre Dame's offense is really good. And it was a mixed – and usually when usually you'll see a theme to the explosives, even in the game, right? Like there's just one theme. Like with Auburn, we saw that the slot was just eating Auburn alive for the explosive plays. This was a mixed bag. It was 4 runs, 3 of them to the running back, dart, counter, and a zone run. One of them a zone read keep that the quarterback pulled it. All 3 passes were play action. And that's where if you're running more zone, there's more eyes in the backfield. They hit a play action post over the middle from the slot. They hit a play action comeback, really deep, long throw, the type of throw Marcel can make versus a cover 3 corner. And they hit it was a pretty nice little play. It was very similar to the pass we hit Owens on against Notre Dame. They ran a play action and sent the tight end out of this 3-back set down the seam and hit him on that for a big play. And there were other big plays, too, that don't quite make the explosive play threshold of 20-plus because they scored from inside of 20, which is, it is what it is. But, it was a mixed bag as well of some run, some pass. So while they're trying to keep everything in front, they're still very gettable on defense. What I saw were Tennessee, most of their explosive plays came from a 3-back. It was 2 tight ends and 1 back, but a 3-back looking backfield with 2 balanced, 2 splits, 2 offline tight ends, and a pistol back. And I have this form, we ran something similar against Mississippi State. So if I could make a request, call in and make a request, it would be a lot of this formation. The balanced pistol look with our 2 offline tight ends, and it gives you the ability to check zone or counter to either side. It gives you the ability to have potentially one-on-one corners because they don't do as much too high as Mississippi State does. And if they do too high versus this, you've got numbers in the box, right? So it makes things very simple. When you balance up a defense, if they got one guy to run away from, it makes that easier. So I would love, and I think Owens looks really good in the pistol. So I would really love to see a lot of that versus this Arkansas defense. Balance them up, let them pick up the best play to run, counter our zone towards, let Owens have a little bit deeper start. So
Go ahead, Mark.
formation you just shown, it doesn't matter how you do it, whether it's what we used to call ace or solo. I can't remember what they called it, with 2 tight ends and the receiver are off.
Yeah. Yes.
That is the hardest thing to line up to and be sound. I can remember back in the day, teams that did it gave us.
Yeah, I can tell you this, Mark. When I was at Carthage, Scott Surratt did not get fooled or frustrated very often at all. But if we got into a game where we were trying to figure out exactly what the defense was doing, he would just go, screw it, line up in solo, let's run inside zone, and then we'll match it up, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do. And solo is what we called it at Carthage. But yeah, double tight like that it looks very basic, and for the new age spread offense, everybody doesn't like it. But I'm telling you, it's a dang good formation.
The problems are they can run 4 vert out of it, so you got to be prepared for 4 vertical. Well, to be prepared for 4 vertical, that puts you in a bind blocking angles wise, and it's very hard to line up to. There's some ways to line up to it correctly that I think that put us ahead of the game when I was coaching, our ability to line up to it, but it really puts you in a bind, and it's hard to play man against too, believe it or not.
Most defenses have that weak side defensive end who's not used to playing a tight end, whether it be offline, inline, whatever. Usually they're away from it, the strong side, and now you make them play. Anyway, I don't know. I saw that and I thought, let's simplify this Arkansas defense and take what they give us. And then the other good thing I like about, I always talk about Elko's, this seems like a floor raiser versus let's just focus on the big ceiling all the time. And the defense playing like it is and us having a run game, those are what travel the easiest. You know what I mean? Like, quarterback play is the hardest thing to get to travel, and passing game, hardest thing to get to travel consistently, And so the fact that our defense is playing like they are, and we show the capability of running the ball at will against some of the better defenses, that's very exciting stuff. I would love for us to just come out there and let Owens and Morrow go wild in that first half. Let them go wild in that first half. So
All right, Mark. So what are you seeing from this Arkansas offense? Because I think you have your hands full more than we do on the.
It'll be the best offense
on our side of the ball.
It'll be the best offense we've seen since Notre Dame. They're talented. They have a good scheme. Petrino, whatever training wheels that Jimbo had him on when he was here, those are completely off. He's a reckless guy, and it shows in his scheme. He's kind of reckless he does everything. They're going to line up in every different kind of package you can think of. They're going to motion. They're going to be under center with a fullback and a tight end. It reminds me, Matt, of Scott Surratt. Honestly, you may be getting 2 backs and a tight end.
It's very diverse.
Or you may be getting 5 wide. Yeah. You don't know. And he can do it with
formation report's going to be printed for about 10
no
minutes.
doubt. And then the motion, like when you check motions with your secondary, you have a period during the week where like, okay, we're going to give you a lot of motions and make sure we're bumping everything. That period's going to take a lot of time with these guys. Their quarterback, we all know him, I think, Talon Green. He's a really good player. He throws the intermediate throws really well. He is a major threat to run. He's their second leading rusher. He'll run it off designed runs. They'll fake counter this way, or they'll fake zone this way, and run quarterback counter the other way. So really having good eyes at the linebacker level will be important. Like I said, he's got 71 carries and their top back has 80 carries. Some of that's on scramble. He can scramble and get out of the pocket. So you have to, when you pressure, you have to be clean in how you pressure and not let there be escape routes when we do have them covered, because he will pull it down. Their wide receiver tight end group is good. I don't think their tight ends are near as good as ours, but they're solid. They can catch the ball out of the backfield. They can block. I just don't think they're as good of blockers as our guys. Number 9's their top receiver. So his name is like Omega Blake. and he's really good. Their number 2 guy they put in the slot a lot, which is number 6, Raylan Sharp. Him in the slot with a quarterback that throws the intermediates well. This is where how well we cover the slot is going to dictate how well we do defensively, because they like those little option routes against the slot guy. Let him just get in there for 6 or 7, find the hole, and drop it to him really quick, and they're good at it. But they're deep threats as well. I just don't know that their quarterback throws the deep ball as well. I just don't think that's his strength. Plus, that's a low percentage thing. Could they hit us on it? Yes. Can they hit us on it consistently? I don't think so. So I don't think that's going to take us out of our scheme. Their O-line is good, but they're not the best we've seen. Their scheme helps them a lot because they're really good at their scheme. We should be able to get pressure on the quarterback. Again, exactly what I said what the good was. Can we get Arkansas into 2nd and 9, 3rd and 7? If we can, they could be in trouble. If they're getting 3 and 4 yards on their run play stuff, and we're not putting them in those bad situations, we could struggle to get them off the field at times. Their running back is number 4. His name is Mike Washington. He's a good back. He's quick. He can break tackles. He's not a big tackle breaker. He kind of runs to space really well. The other back is number 0, and he's a big physical kid, but he's not near as good as number 4. It's a challenge. This is a challenge. A night game on the road in the SEC is not a good place to be, and so you have to be physical and you have to be sound. And we're going to have to do that over and over, even when we call something and they bust us for something, or they get a couple of first downs in a row. The ability of our kids to keep their head, stay in the scheme, keep attacking, make Arkansas be consistent with executing. If we can challenge them a little bit with being consistent, I see this as where we don't get a bunch of 3 and outs, but we get a bunch of maybe 6 or 7 and outs. But we gotta hold them to field goals. Shut down. We got to play really well in the red zone where they're going to scheme a bunch of stuff up. Much like Klein, Petrino's much like Klein. He puts you in binds in the red zone. So, but it all centers around their quarterback. We need to frustrate him and make him upset. And I need Cassius Howell to be in that guy's head, and we need to hit him and be physical with their running backs. We got to make them go ahead and say, you know what, not tonight. I don't need to show out tonight. If they have some success early, that could cause problems for us. But our defense has been great. I trust what Elko. I think Elko's going to do what he does. I don't think he's going to look at this offense and go, "Oh, we need to change something." No, he's going to do what we do, but they're just got to be very good at being where they're supposed to be. But I think y'all can score. I think you're going to have to score this game a little bit more than you have, on offense in the last couple of games.
I agree. All right, so game prediction. Statistically, like I said, Arkansas is the worst defense in the SEC. Since we've joined the SEC in 2012, we have won 12 out of the 13 games, but it's always a wacky game. Always a wacky game. 3 of those went to overtime. And so, like I said earlier, there's 24 Texas kids on that team that all wanted to play here. But I'm going to say we beat them 35-21. I think they do get some points on us. I think it's close in the first half, and then we pull away in the fourth quarter like we've kind of done here the last couple games. So, but I will tell you that if we hold them to 14 or less, just because I do think they're that explosive offensively, Matt may have to argue with Coach Brown on if we start referring to this defense as the wrecking crew. Got to start giving credit where credit's due if they keep this up. So I'm going 35-21, pull away late in the game. So Mark, what are you predicting?
Well, I'll say this: if we hold them to 14 points, our offense will score 50, and it'll be a blowout and it'll be ugly. I'm not gonna predict that. Do I think it could happen? Sure, but I'm gonna say 38-28 Aggies. I think it's a road test. It's our first for a while. I think the game will be back and forth for a while, but I think the Aggies will pull away in the fourth quarter with that run game. I think that's the thing that I love what you guys are saying. Let's line up and shove Owens and Morrow down their throat, keep their offense off the field. We have a 3-and-out. I'd like, if we can get a 3-and-out, I'd like to see them drive the length of the field with one of those 8-minute drives. That is a backbreaker for Arkansas because they need their offense on the field a lot because they do make mistakes on offense. They turn it over a little bit. And so keep their offense off the field, but I still say they get us on a few, so I'll say 38-28.
Okay. Seth, what you got, boss?
I'm going to go 42-31, but how we get there, I hope it's 42-24 with a late Petrino touchdown. One of those things where we cruise out to a 2 or 3 score lead and kind of coast out to the victory. I'd really like it to be that way instead of 35-31 and then we score late, to make it 42-31. I do think like what you've seen, and I think this game will come down to what last year. I remember it so much in the first half, how undisciplined we were in our pass rush against Green. That hurt us big. And in the second half, after Elko probably threw a chair in the locker room, they rushed much more disciplined. The pass rush was much more disciplined, and we got after them. And they didn't do much in the second half last year. And so if Elko can get his point across in pregame, I could see this getting ugly for Arkansas because I don't think Green has faced a defensive front as good as ours either. So if they come out and kind of a little bit too much ears pinned back, adrenaline's up a little bit, kind of let Green escape out of that A gap or let him get outside of the pocket, he can hurt you. He can really do it. So, but I'm going to go 42-31 because I do think they're going to score. I do think Trino has, who knows, he's probably got our signals or something. That guy will do anything to try to, and he's auditioning for the job, and this is his old place, and it's at home at night. I can see him scoring some points, but I think we've got to have a game where we travel and we score a bunch too. That's got to happen. This is the time to do it. It's time for the offense to go out and win one versus letting it be close for a while. It's time for the offense to just go out and win it from the start. So,
all right. So, player of the game, I'm gonna go with Owens. With Moss out, he's gonna get more of the carries, and I do believe that Elko's gonna tell Klein, hey, let's lean on that run game. They're susceptible. First of all, they're susceptible to it. We can be very positive in that area.
Yeah.
Number two, like Mark says, it keeps that offense off the field, which helps us. So I think Owens gonna have a big game. I think he's gonna go for over 150 and have 2 touchdowns. Is my prediction. Mark, what you got?
I'm gonna go.
So, we lost Mark because City of Champions internet, not so much the City of Champions when it comes to upload and download speeds. I'm going to take a cop out and go with a unit again. But I have a metric we can use if we want to look back on this. That O-line tight end run blocking group last week of the 1.1 yards before contact, I expect to see that number flush back up there into that 3 range.
Yeah, maybe
if
4.
we can have that yards before contact, 3 to 4. That will mean we've won the game. If we lose the game with that yards before contact at a 3 or 4, that would be shocking. And Arkansas is prime for it. They're one of the top. It's hard to kind of reverse engineer this, but I was able to reverse engineer and look, and they are in the top 2 or 3 when it comes to yards before contact allowed as a defensive unit in the SEC. So this is the time to go do that on the road at night. So
yep.
Gotcha.
Well, Seth covered it for you.
So I say Ratcliffe. Look, our safeties are going to have to play well in this game, and Ratcliffe's been doing just a lot of great things. I could see him making some big plays on a scramble with Taylor Green, and so I could see him getting a pick on one of these intermediate routes that they throw. So I'm going to go with Ratcliffe.
Okay. Well, all right, guys. Well, like we said earlier, we sure appreciate people that listen. We love the content as far as y'all's comments, so please feel free to put comments below, share, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it. We sure appreciate it. But this is Tres Amigos signing out. Thanks and giggle.
You go.